Alright, so we've gotten some really great photos of John Frusciante's pedalboard since the Limited Love era kicked off. But what we haven't gotten is the perfect point-blank, dead-on shot of his board where you can just really see the whole thing in detail. Well, today, I'm excited to share this with you guys. That's right, we have just the perfect shot of John Frusciante's Unlimited Love era pedalboard. And in today's video, we're going to go over it, briefly touch on some settings, but that's going to mainly be saved for a future few videos. But we're going to go over some new details as well that we can actually point out in this shot that we haven't been able to see before. So let's get right on into this kind of pedalboard analysis breakdown of John Frusciante's Unlimited Love era pedalboard. Alright, so I'm just looking at the pedalboard just as you guys are right now in this video, and we're just going to tackle it and start diving into it here. So let's go over the very first thing that's kind of really important from this shot. And it's the fact that we can see the Mootron. Now, I'm not an expert on what Mootron offers, but to me, if we zoom in, I am pretty certain that is the Microtron 4 with the up-down right switch removed. That's what that looks like to me. Now, if it's something more that Mootron custom built for him in that enclosure, we don't know at this point. I'm going to do a separate video on this specific pedal. I'll do a deep dive on it. I'm going to kind of research it a lot more, but you know, we finally just kind of figured out what he's using, so bear with me guys on this. But that's what it looks like kind of at first glance to me. It looks like a Microtron 4 with the up-down switch removed. It looks like they just took it out and then put some silver tape actually over top of it. I'm zoomed in pretty close here. That's what it looks like to me, at least. The interesting thing though is that for 2023 so far, the first performance we've seen from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, that Mootron pedal is no longer part of John Frusciante's rig. That's going to be a separate video that is coming out. I recorded it actually prior to making this video, but new details have come out since I've recorded that video. But that Mootron is actually not part of John Frusciante's rig, at least from the latest show that we've seen. So kind of interesting nonetheless. I can't really think of a time that he's used this pedal either, if I'm being honest. Out of any of the footage, I don't really know what sound would have been used, you know, what this pedal would have been used for. So I don't know, but let's move on. Now next, actually physically on the pedalboard, we have the Moog low pass filter, and I've been saying this the entire time. We know that this is the Moog low pass filter even without this perfect shot of it because of the layout and the orange switches. That's exactly how you tell it's a Moog low pass filter. You look up above it, you got the CP251 processor, and the way the cables are done for the CP251 processor is exactly how you would have them set in order to do the Danny California wobble effect. And I made a whole video kind of discussing why John Frusciante isn't using that. You know, the preamp, yes, it is important. I'm not totally convinced how important that preamp and the Moog low pass filters actually is to John's sound. I mean, it definitely does have an effect on it for sure, but I don't know. I don't think it's that important. Even if you look at the drive, actually. No, look at the drive here. It's at 9 o'clock on the Moog low pass filter. So it's actually fairly low. Now, I used to own this pedal. I got rid of it, and I'm really regretting it at the moment because I don't remember where Unity Drive is on this pedal. Because if anything, the settings look like to me, based on memory, that it's cutting signal more than any adding. Like, it's not adding any signal. Okay, I have a couple of friends who still own a bunch of the Moog pedals. I just texted them, and if I get a response back as to where they say Unity gain is on the MF101, I'll cut that in now. But if not, stay tuned to the channel because I'll be sure discussing that part in a future video because I don't think it's adding any gain. With it that low, my memory could be just failing me here right now, but I think I got a pretty damn good memory. I don't think it's adding really any drive or anything considerably into, you know, making that much of a difference with the preamp. I don't know. It's been discussed heavily. We'll touch on it on the channel at a future date, but that's something that I've been really curious about, and it doesn't look like it's that low. That's for sure. Now moving on, we got the Line 6 FM4, and we know the tape we've already been able to tell. It's set for throw rear television with what looks like a barefoot button on it. I'm not sure if that's the brand, but that's what it appears to be on there. Yeah, just set for that one purpose for that song. Pretty simple, right? And actually, while we're cutting through here, there's one thing I want to point out to you guys. So we know that John Frusciante is using gig rig quartermasters in order to, have a fail-safe with this pedal board. If one of the pedals or cables fails, they can just take out that loop and then Henry can fix the board while the rest of the board's still up and running. It's really evident here when you look at the way the cables flow. All of them, from the Phase 90, the Dynacomp up top, if you look at the MXR reverbs, they all just flow straight kind of into the underside of the board in that second tier. The underside of that second tier. You can actually see through this shot here that there are little like cutouts in the, I guess, wood or whatever it is where the board's built out of, where the rungs, actually the cables go straight through. You don't just have the quartermaster sitting underneath there. So for Henry to access them, you actually would have to physically lift up that back tier and then go inside there in order to access the quartermasters, which is a really interesting system for sure. In terms of doing it that way. Very smart, honestly, in order to help keep the pedal board as reliable as possible. But anyways, moving on from that Line 6 FM4, we do have those two MXR reverbs, and you got a really great shot at the settings here on both of them in terms of the knobs. Now, if you actually look right above that, you have a gig rig power supply that's just kind of sitting there. Okay, so that's the Even Flow. The Gig Rig Even Flow is an adapter that's been designed to deliver all the juice that your Emmetide Stomp Box series of pedals need in order to operate at their best. Part of the modular power supply system, of course we know that. Perfect for your Line 6 DL4, FM4, MM4, and ML4 pedals. So we know that he's using the Even Flow in order to power that FM4, which is really cool and a solution for some of you guys if you're having trouble powering those pedals with your current power supply. But what this lets us know is that we know that John Frusciante is using the Gig Rig modular power system for his pedal board, which is really cool. Something, I definitely wouldn't have expected, to be honest, but really cool that he's using Dan's just absolutely brilliant stuff, and kudos to him for designing a really great product, because look, now you have them being used in a band like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is just wild to me. But yeah, really cool. It's 9 volts in, 500 milliamps isolated, reverse polarity out, the center positive plug. Yeah, so that's actually a really great option if you're looking for a new system to power a pedal board and you have an FM4 on your board or even a DL4. This actually would work really well. Custom doing it, obviously, but it'd work well. Then, of course, we got that Ibanez WH10 version 3 modded by Wilson Effects. Then you see the MXR Super Badass Variac Fuzz. Again, you get a really great shot at the settings there. I really like this fuzz pedal. It's a really, really great pedal. Then we see the Wilson Effects Not Right, which is a Fuzz Right clone, which was added kind of, the first third of the leg of the Limited Love Tour off the top of my head. Settings on that look pretty aggressive. They're both pretty much dimed, which is very interesting to see. It's curious. He's using that pedal very aggressively. That's for sure in the way it's set. Then we go on to the Boss SD1. Again, really, really nice shot at the settings. It's set pretty aggressively too, actually, which again is interesting. Then we have both Boss DS2s. Both of the turbo distortions are actually set in a loop together if you actually look. So you can see it comes out from the Gig Rig Quartermaster into the first DS2, jumps to the second one, and then back in. So something worth noting is that in order probably to save loop space, they just put both of them together. And again, this is why it's so difficult in order to really tell what John Frusciante's signal chain is, because usually he likes putting things where they're ergonomically comfortable for him on his board, where he has to do the least amount of stretched tap dancing for his main sounds. So, they might not necessarily be just completely right to left on his pedal board, and I don't think they are. Look at the reverbs. We know they're not going to be the very first kind of pedals or near the very first bunch of pedals in the chain. They're just not going to be. And that's how he had it during the Stadium Arcadium era, too. That Holy Grail was lower down, kind of beside the wall pedal as well. So super hard to tell the signal chain. Then we go, of course, the MXR micro amp, and then we have the big muff with kind of those hockey puck knobs on it. Then just off to the side, we have a TU2. Yeah, I think that's a TU2. Very hard to tell. And I don't know, just by looking at it, which one is. I have to look at the things. I don't think there's any visual differences, but it doesn't really matter. Boss tuner, probably the TU2. Now we're moving on to that back row. We've already discussed the Moog CP251 processor, so we got the Dynacomp, and we got the Phase 90, you know, some really great MXR pedals. We got that MXR flanger. The original vintage version is what Eddie Van Halen used, so that's a very, very great flanger sound and circuit that they got in there for sure. We got a couple more pedals. We got from Dunlop, we got the Echoplex delay, and then we have the Carbon Copy. Just a few different delays that John Frusciante has on the go. Of course, you got the Boss CE1. I mean, you know, it's not a Frusciante pedalboard without the Boss CE1. That is for sure. I actually tried the Universal Audio Astra the other day, and that's the chorus section of that is actually a CE1 clone. And it's not one that's talked about a lot because it even has the preamp built into it as well. I don't believe the preamp is always on though, which is it's probably gonna be a deal breaker for a lot of Frusciante fans, but something worth checking out if you guys are curious. Then we move on. We got the Digitech PDS 1002, and then of course the Boss DD500 rounding out the pedal board. So just a really brilliant look at John Frusciante's pedalboard. I mean, this is wicked. This is the shot we've all dreamed of seeing. You know, perfect shot to see all the settings. We can, you know, see just little details like the fact that he's using gig rig power supplies, that modular system to power his board. It's just cool. Doesn't really matter what power supply he's using as long as, you know, you're using a really good high quality one. But it's just cool to know. It's just really cool to know. And that Microtron 4, I think, is what that Mutron is. That's really interesting too. But there you guys go. I just thought this would be a lot funner to do and kind of take a real close look at this pedalboard with you guys as I'm creating the video. I just saw it got posted online on Reddit of all places, and I don't believe the person who posted it is the actual person who took this photo. By the way, this is from the Apollo Theater show, so I'm not sure if it's the same gentleman who took the other photos we were looking at or not. I don't believe so, because I think we would have seen them all at the same batch, but if I can credit it, it'll be in the description down below of this video. But I definitely need to deep dive a bit further into that Mutron, that Microtron 4. I'm pretty sure that that's like the Roman numerals for 4 on the very end there. And then as well, the drive knob on the Moog low pass filter has me very curious to see, because again, I don't believe he's really adding much drive at all. I want to say Unity on that pedal, for the drive at least, was rather low down, so I think he's about there, if I'm being honest. I think that's what's going on there. And I also want to look deeper into the not right settings, because that's just as near as makes no difference behind. And then the SD1 as well being set very aggressively. I need to get an SD1. I need to get an SD1 and actually test that out with my 2203 and just see what that sounds like. I know I'm not John, but to me it seems set fairly aggressively. But I'll take a look at that for you guys and hopefully can come back with some answers. So again, you guys enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Really helps my channel grow, lets me know I'm doing a good job. Please hit thumbs up if you loved this breakdown of John Frusciante's pedalboard. If you're super stoked to actually see this version of John Frusciante's pedalboard, it's just the perfect shot of it again. And until the next time, you guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Take care. We'll see you on the next one.